So there are different roles when it comes to users inside of ServiceNow, even as an admin. But there's different directions that you can go when you're looking for potential jobs, work, or different just roles that you can be a part of inside of ServiceNow. So definitely check those out. But this one, I'm going to be covering ServiceNow admin and share with you guys the different roles. So a ServiceNow administrator, they provide access to all of the platform features, applications, functions, and data. They then have a specialized administrator. So those manage a specific function of the application or area of service, such as they could be an administrator for assignment roles. They could be an administrator for the knowledge base, the HR, the reports, or web services. So it kind of breaks off into different categories. And then there's the process user. So a process user, they fulfill ITIL roles, the workflows, incident, change management, and then an approver, which approves the actions or helps to modify any records or direct them where they need to be. And then there's also a requester. So this is typically known as the employee self-service users, where the users do not have roles as an admin, but they can submit, manage their requests, access certain pages that are placed inside of ServiceNow, where they are a specific role based off of their job. And all of that is managed as a ServiceNow admin. So you may have a user, which is an employee within a company, and they are then assigned to a group, which is a certain amount of people that share a common purpose. So you have your users, which are individual, and inside of ServiceNow, there's several tables, which are also known as records for each individual person. So a user is represented by a record on the user table. And you can find this inside of ServiceNow by typing in sys_user table. Then from there, they are assigned to a group, which a group is a collection of users. So they share a common purpose, such as maybe all of these people are able to change requests or receive email notifications, right? And if you want to find different groups inside of ServiceNow, you can type in sys_user_group, and it'll come up to the group tables. So some examples of different groups can include service desk, HR administrators, knowledge-based authors. So you can categorize different tasks that people do into a group, for example, or their job. What is their role into a group? Whereas a user has an individual task, name, all of their information associated to one user. So they might update records, import data, request items, implement flows, run reports, develop applications, and more. And then a user can have a role, which is certain access to areas within the application. This is also known as ACL, access control list is what it stands for. But a role you can grant access to the application model that you want the user to have. You can assign security rights, access to certain data for them where they could potentially read, write, update, or delete. And a role can be assigned to a group or a single user. And then one user can also have more than one role. So keep that in mind. So for example, they could be a catalog admin. They could also be a criteria user for the admin area. They could be working with knowledge based. So you can assign different roles to a user. And inside of ServiceNow, roles are also represented inside of the table form by a record. And you can find this by searching sys_user_role, and it'll pull up the roles table. So if you have a new user coming into a company, it's best to assign a user to a role and then the role to a group. That'll help to not have conflict, confusion inside of the platform. You can take a role and assign it to a group. And then that user will have access to what they need to do inside of what that group also has. And then if they were to ever remove, like, be removed from the company, you can just remove them from the group and then they no longer have access to that area of things to do. And keep in mind, each role can have different tasks to do. So, for example, if they are a catalog admin, well, that catalog admin doesn't have the same things of capabilities and access as the user criteria admin. So, there's different areas as well when you assign out roles. This is called parent and child. So you have your parent roles and then you have your different child, and this breaks out into different tables inside of ServiceNow. For example, this image might help you see a little bit better, where you can see there's different admin catalog roles, but they have different access things that they can do based off of the roles. And then as an admin, you don't want to be constantly logging in and out, so you can actually impersonate a certain user. So you can assign somebody a role and then impersonate them and just double check that they have access to everything. So when you're logged in the upper right-hand corner, you can see under profile preferences, there's then impersonate user. And you can type in the user name and it'll allow you to then view as the user is on their end. Then you just end the impersonation and it'll take you back to your account of how to go ahead, view, set things up, set up users, set up roles, set up groups as a ServiceNow admin. So some things to keep in mind is that as a service administrator or admin role, you have almost access to all the different roles in the platform features, except HR and security operations. So keep that in mind as a ServiceNow admin, and when you're helping with roles and tasks, that you still do not have access to HR and security operations. Then in platform, you have users, which are able to do several different things instead of the ServiceNow. And then you also have groups, which groups is a collection of users that have a common interest of certain tasks, such as like approving requests, receiving emails, working on the service desk, working on incident reports, knowledge base, and more. Now, when you have a new user, it's best to add that user to a group and then assign the role to the group. So that'll help you as an admin to stay organized with all of the users, especially when you work in a big organization. But that is about ServiceNow as an administrator, working with users, roles, and groups.